Hi everyone. Hope you're having a great weekend. I just wanted to take time and talk about a topic that I'm often asked about as a counselor, especially by new clients or prospective new clients. Some therapists offer an initial free consultation. So that's typically 10 to 15 minutes by phone, where the therapist and the client would talk about the therapist's approach and really how that might meet the client's needs. I'm going to tell you why I personally don't do that, and I don't think it's actually an ethical thing to do. So when we set up an initial consultation, it's really intended to be time to know about the therapist's approach. It's not really time to talk about the things that are bringing the client into therapy, which is what in my experience, clients tend to want to do during that time. There's real danger in that because we haven't yet established a therapist-client relationship. So it puts the therapist at jeopardy if they should give any advice or anything like that, because technically you're still not a client. With regard to the client, it's also not a good idea because it tends to set expectations for the therapy that I think it really takes time to get to know somebody, and 10 to 15 minutes is not usually a sufficient amount of time for two people to get to know one another and know how they get along, or if they're going to be a good match. So I really look at the first session is really the intake session. It's our initial session for me to get to know about you, for you to get to know about me and kind of how I approach the therapeutic work. I will tell you that my own approach, we tend to look a lot at your thinking and how your thinking relates to how you feel and behave. And there's a lot of research evidence that kind of supports that notion that our thinking has a lot to do with how we feel and how we behave, particularly in regard to things like depression and anxiety and even substance use. But it's that initial session, and I even encourage clients, sometimes it takes several sessions before you'll know if you're a good fit for a therapist or not, or if they'll know for certain that they're a good fit for you. So I always encourage clients to commit to at least 5 or 6 sessions just to kind of get to know each other, to allow that relationship to develop, and just kind of see how things play out. If at that time, I keep an open door policy with my clients, so I always tell clients from the very first session, if you feel that something is working well or isn't working particularly well in our relationship, I want to be the first to hear about it. I want to know how we can adapt our approach to maybe better suit your needs, or maybe if those needs might be better addressed by somebody else. That's not something I'm going to take personally, but I think it's important that we have a dialogue about it. But that tends to be why it's not the best idea to have an initial consultation with a therapist. It puts the therapist at risk of potentially giving therapeutic advice when you're technically still not their client, sets them up for legal liability. And I think it can also kind of build false expectations for the client as well. Because you really won't get to know the therapist until at least the first session. But yeah, I would encourage you. I've got a lot of information published on my website, where you can read about my training, my approach to therapy. I've got some videos posted on there. You might find some of my blogs particularly helpful. Go to briansharpcounseling.com. That's Brian with an I. And if you have any questions, things that may that maybe you want to know more about that you read on my website, I'm happy to respond to those questions. Just know that we can't actually talk about the issues that bring you to therapy until we establish you as a client with me as your therapist. I hope that makes sense, but check out my website. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. My email link is on there as well. And I would certainly encourage you, be sure to like this video, share it, subscribe. I appreciate any support you can give. Hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye.